Hello everybody. Welcome to the Speed Roller session. Thank you so much for coming along. Firstly, I'd like to say hello. My name is James Ingram, co-owner and managing director of Fusion Signage. We also have Emily here, who's a co-owner and marketing director, and a few of the other team members in as well. So thank you for coming along to our Canva Speed Roller session. We're very excited to see a lot of the feedback and a lot of the engagement that we've had with this integration. Please, if you have any questions at any point, chuck them into the chat and we'll get to them at the end. And this will be recorded so we can send you a copy of this at the end of the presentation. So without any further delay, let's dive straight into it. So firstly, welcome along. If everybody has had a go with Canva, we'd welcome any kind of feedback into the chat, or even just send it through to an email to us at any point, because we're always looking for improvements. The Canva integration was phase one for us, which is basically what you see in your platform, but then there's a second phase that we're considering, which is coming from the Canva side. So right now, Fusion Signage kind of opens up the Canva window and then you design it. The other option would be from within Canva, you can then publish directly from there. So that takes a little bit longer. So we wanted to see the engagement, and obviously we have a fair bit. So I'm imagining that's going to be put onto the roadmap very, very shortly. So firstly, what is it? Fusion Signage does integrate directly with Canva now. It's available to any accounts that have advanced and pro licenses on them. You can easily connect your Canva account within Fusion Signage and then create a brand new design, sync it back to Fusion Signage, and then go live on your screens. You can share designs within Canva to your team, so that way you can let everybody have access to them, because the user logins is based on a per user basis as opposed to a Canva account, which means you as an individual user can create your own designs and then you can share them and have other people access them as well. The Canva design is then treated like any other piece of media within Fusion Signage. So if you're used to using images, videos, or the designs that are within Fusion Signage already, you can do everything you possibly imagine with it as well. So add it to playlists, update designs via clicking on it, going back to Canva, schedule designs, and deploy it to 1 or 1,000 screens at any point. Let's jump in and I'll show you how it all works, and then we can go through a little bit of the other information and frequently asked questions. So this is in the Fusion Signage portal. In order to connect your account, you can kind of do it one of two ways. So under the settings section, we do have our integrations tab over here on the bottom left. And in here, you're going to see any of the integrations that we do start to build. So Canva in here, I can click on authorize and that will go through that process. Or if you don't know how to do that or don't know how to find that, when you go and create under the manage section and go add and click on Canva, it's going to ask you to configure that integration anyway. So if you go to try and add a Canva without having it being connected, it'll force you to do that anyway. So if we configure that integration, it's going to take me directly over to this page. I'm going to click authorize. If you're not logged in to your Canva account already, it's going to ask you to obviously log in, but it is. So I've got my email here. It's going to ask for permission. And then once we've done that, we're going to click allow. And now that Canva has been connected. So under the settings, under integrations, you'll see it now has the option to delete. Delete will simply just remove that integration, meaning it's no longer connected, or reauthorize if for some reason that you kind of get logged out of your Canva account where this is no longer working, you might have to come and just reauthorize, which basically just means we're going to refresh that connection between Fusion and Canva. So how do we create a Canva design? Easiest way, under the manage section, we go up to the top right, we click on add. This is the new modal, so if this isn't actually live on your account, you'll see the traditional drop down that we used to have under the button, but this will be coming shortly to all users as well, just a nice clean interface. Down the bottom, you'll see here Canva. It requires an advanced or a pro level hot license, but when you click on that, it now gives you some options. So the Canva design name, so this is pretty self-explanatory, call it something that is going to make sense to you. So if we go menu design, for example, the pixel pitch and the pixel size is basically the size of your screen. So make sure that this is matching your screen resolution. So 1920 by 1080 is pretty standard for a kind of standard screen. Even if your screen can support 4K, try it at 1920 first, just in case. But otherwise, if you know and comfortable and you've tested it before, you can always go up to the 3840 by 2160. If you're using portrait, you can swap these around and go 1080 by 1920. And then that'll mean it's in the portrait orientation as well. So have a play around with that and set it to the correct resolution. If you're doing things like LEDs as well or smaller resolutions, you can do the same here. The output type between image and video. So essentially this is that. So if you want it to just be a simple image, you can do that way. Or if you have any kind of video content coming from Canva, you can select video over here. Where it is selected as an image, Canva has the ability to have multiple slides. So you can have multiple pages within it, multiple presentations, for example. You can even specify a duration here. So if it has, say, 10 different slides on it, you can say, I want every one of those slides to appear for 10 seconds or 5 seconds. And this is essentially like a slideshow built within this single Canva file, and it just allows you a little bit of extra control over it. So I'll set it to the default of 10 here. When I hit create in Canva, it's now going to take me over to the Canva design. So this is now at canva.com. I've logged in, I've connected my account. You'll see in the top right over here, the return to Fusion Signage. This is the button that we press in order to synchronize this design back to the Fusion Signage account. So we can't do it from Canva, as I've mentioned. You can only do it by following these steps, going through and then pressing the return to Fusion Signage at this stage. But once you're in here, you can now start to build and create your content. So this has opened this up into a new tab. So this over here can now be created separately to Fusion Signage. So over here, you'll see all of the templates that are available. Now you don't need a paid account. I currently only have a free account, but you are limited to the designs and the templates that are available on your account. So I could come through and select any of these if I wanted to, or I could search for something new. If you do have some that have been shared within your team or under different projects, if you click on the projects tab on the left over here, you can see that these are available over here. So over here, I've got one that I've kind of got within my projects tab, maybe something I've created from the Canva site already. I want to access this and quickly bring it into Fusion. I can do that from here. So if I click on my new Canva design, you'll see that's been populated over here. I can make any changes, make all my additions. I can add additional pages down the bottom over here and get it ready to essentially be sent back to Fusion. Now, I'm definitely not an expert on Canva. I haven't used it as much as some of the other team members. However, I know that you can pretty much do everything that you would expect within Canva from here, adding text, images, different elements, and so on. If you do have teams as well, you can ensure that this is shared with them. So if you click on share up here in the top right, you can either provide access here. So this is how we would allow multiple team members to have access to the designs that you have created. It is done from the Canva side. So that file will appear within Fusion Signage for everybody, but whether you have access to it will come down to this access here within Canva. So you could say, I want my teams to have access, anyone with the link, or add specific people. Just make sure you've had a play around with your sharing if something doesn't work for your team. So when I'm ready and I've created this design and I click return to Fusion Signage, it's going to say, perfect, are you ready to return? Let's synchronize any of the changes back to that file. Hit return, and now this file is going to get synchronized back. So in here, I've got my file called the menu design. There's a status here where it's basically being processed. You can see when it was updated, the duration. If we want to change the duration of the slides, so in here I basically chose image earlier and I wanted it to be 10 seconds. But if I wanted this to be 5 seconds, because maybe that was a little bit too slow, you can do that under that option. So on the edit, under the 3-dot menu, you can come in and press configure, and then you can choose between image and video, as well as update the duration in here. To edit this file again, I could click on the edit option here. I've middle clicked on that, it opens up in a brand new tab. That's going to come back, and now I'm editing it directly within. So if you've used our designer before within Fusion Signage, it's kind of similar to that, where I can edit on the fly as well. So what do you do with this file? Well, now you can basically add it to anywhere that you would add another media item. So if I go and create a new playlist here and say menu, I can add that file via the media. I've got my menu design here, which is my Canva design, and then I can add any other example content that I want, go back, hit save and publish, and then get that onto my screen in exactly the same way. Pretty straightforward. There's not really too much more to it than that, other than getting creative in Canva and doing all of the work on that side. The synchronization back and forth is pretty self-explanatory. Awesome. Let's go back to here. So some of the frequently asked questions that we've got, do I need a Canva account to use the integration? Yes, you do need a Canva account. Obviously, there are free versions, so you don't have to commit to it and pay any money, but obviously there's benefits on the Canva side to having a paid account as well. So you do need a Canva account in order to get started. Do you need Pro? No, absolutely not. There are benefits, but you don't necessarily need to. Now, can multiple Canva accounts be connected to the same Fusion Signage account? Yes. So this is on an individual user basis. So when I went back into my integrations over here, I'll save that. When I'm configuring this, you'll see we have this little personal tab here as opposed to an account wide. So when I'm connecting this, I'm connecting it for my account on my user. So if I've got my own email address, james@fusionsignage.com.au in Canva, that's what I'm going to be connecting it to. If all my other users, like Emily has one, she'll be connecting her own and she'll have their own little ecosystem. That's why it's really important to share any designs on the Canva side with each other to have them access it. Why use the Canva integration instead of exporting images manually? Well, you still can export the images manually. So within Canva, you can go and export it as an image or a video and just directly upload that into Fusion Signage. However, you can see the benefit being I have the ability to edit that directly from here. So if I'm coming back into my Manage section, I've got my menu design directly here. Instead of me trying to go to Canva, find where that design is, edit it, export it, upload it, I can just click on Edit, get straight in there, make my changes and come back. Can I update the Canva design directly from Canva? So this is probably one of the main limitations of the current format of how we've done this. However, we just wanted to get something built relatively quickly, see the uptake on it and see what user feedback was. So no, if I was logged into my Canva account, for example, if I go over to Canva, for example, in here, you'll see my menu design is here. So if I'm directly at canva.com and I make any changes to this and I go over and then that has been saved, this will not directly be updated on your screen when this change has been made. However, if I've made this change over here, when I come back into Fusion and I open up my menu design from here, that change should be replicated. So you see that $7.50 has been moved, but I do have to press return to Fusion Signage in order for that to synchronize back, which sends that file from Canva to Fusion and then updates all of your screens with that file. So unfortunately, it is a two-step process, but any changes can be quickly kind of made like that if you need to. And can I use Canva Teams and sharing? Yes, as I showed, you can use the sharing functionality and ensure that the team has full access to it. You just need to do that on the Canva side. So if I've created this file within Fusion Signage, for example, and this menu design is something that I've created, if Emily tries to go in, for example, and edit it and I haven't shared it, it's going to give you an error saying, I don't have access to this file. As soon as I share it with Emily on the Canva side, she can go in, she can edit that file exactly how you would expect from the design side. Perfect. And that is pretty much the end of the speed roller session. If anybody has any specific questions, feel free to chuck them into the chat here and we can go through them now. We will be sending this recording out and we will probably be including the support site with a video demonstrating how this works. But we would really love any feedback on how the functionality is working for you, anything that you find to be a little bit annoying, because then we can obviously go in, make some changes and build and develop the integration around you guys and your specific requirements. Just going to check the chat and see. Couldn't get it to play all the pages in the playlist and exporting. Okay, Nikki, we might have to look at, so Nikki had a problem where she was creating a multi-page Canva doc and it didn't play all the pages in the playlist. So we can have a look at that one separately, Nikki, and see what was going on. Yes, Richard, it does cover the animated Canva slides. So when you're creating a new Canva design, come in here under Canva, you will have the option to select video on the drop down here. So if you do have any kind of animations, just make sure that you use the video design. Okay, Shane seems to have the same issue with multiple pages playing in the playlist. We'll make a note of those too. And we'll see, can we include Canva design in zones? Yes. Yep, so once you've created a Canva design, you can put it anywhere that you would expect. So zones, you can put it in a playlist, you can schedule it and do everything that you would expect with that. If you're using zones and the zones are a different resolution, just make sure you've specified the resolution in here, and then that should work as intended. Do those animated slide transitions and make a video format instead of... Yes, it should make it into a video format instead of an image. Yep. And we get Canva Pro included with Canva Pro license, Fusion Pro license. Unfortunately, we don't have any connection or a kind of affiliation with Canva at the moment, so we won't be able to kind of get it included at this stage. They are billed separately. So one day, maybe, if we get big enough for Canva to notice, we can get some kind of deal going, but at the moment, no. Glenn, we have heaps of integrations planned. The biggest one is probably with Zapier. So we've just released a Zapier integration, which obviously has over 7,000 other applications connected to it. So while it takes us a bit of time to do these integrations, Zapier is definitely a way that we're looking as a conduit between a heap of separate applications. We've also released our APIs and our open APIs. So we have a lot of external capabilities connecting to different platforms. So in the future, we're hoping that our kind of interrupt system, and our triggers will come into play as well. So, if something happens in this application through Zapier, or Zapier, how we say it, Zapier, you have the ability to say, well, change the content on my screen for 15 minutes to this and have it trigger. So definitely Zapier is going to be a big one. We are looking at a full designer rebrand as well, which is going to have a lot of connections into kind of third-party systems, point-of-sale systems, and the like as well. Can existing Canva slides be brought in? So Richard, I kind of showed that a little bit. It is a little bit limited, but the way that we could do it at the moment, if I just create a quick design here, when I go through and create the design from here, if you have it saved into this projects folder, you can see I've got some kind of pre-built designs over here that you've created. If you can put it into a project, you can essentially use this as a starting point from here. So the quick way to do it would be save it into a project, come over here, click on that menu design, and then from here you can kind of move it from here. So that's one way, but we don't have the ability to kind of go from Canva to be pushed in. Thanks, Shane. Thanks for the feedback. Into Canva. So dynamic content from Canva into a spreadsheet into Canva. To be honest, I'm not sure whether you can get content from a spreadsheet into Canva. We do have our kind of Google Sheets integration within our designer. So over here, you'll see we have a Google Sheets integration, and I believe that the team are also testing Microsoft Excel online, being able to display the full slide and embed it. So there's two different ways to do it, but this Google Sheets integration is something that we built specifically, but I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on Canva, unfortunately, but yeah, have a look and see whether that works. And we do have our PowerPoint and PDF integration as well. So I'm not sure that would have gone coming around about the same time. When you click on add over here, you'll have documents, and documents for PDF and PowerPoint files are available here. Same concept where there's multiple slides, you can upload it and specify a duration. That content would be displayed in there. I might just quickly test and see the multiple slide thing. Just pick a free one. It's got 11 slides in it. Apply all 11. Return to Fusion. I will just clear this second, select data. Let's just see if this works, huh? Yeah. Nice. Do I have I don't have the quick add, do I? Playlist, test, add media. So it is still processing. It says the duration is down. That might update in a second. Yeah, so that did work. I don't know if you're still around, guys, but who was that had that issue? Nikki. I think Nikki and Shane both had the issue. I don't know if you're still here, but that is a multi-slide and it seems to be working as a kind of playlist. So we might have to have a look at what's going on with yours. There might be something specific in your designs that maybe are having a bit of an issue, but it has worked. So yeah, okay. That might be a consideration. Obviously, there's a certain level of kind of, I think, web player that we might need in order to do it. If you want to test it on a few different players, that would be good. Or even if you just test it in your browser, like I just did, just go to player.fusionsignage.com.au. That should at least prove that the content's working. It should also work in the preview over here, I believe. So you can cycle through. Yeah, so you can cycle through and see that the content is actually working in the preview. But I'm not really sure. But let's get to the bottom of it. Obviously, we need to make sure it's working. With two people having that issue, we want to make sure it is working. Cool. Does anybody else have any questions non-Canva related that maybe we can help with, or anything you want to see? Is there a development process for an entire Google Sheets integration? Sharon, how do you mean? As in putting an entire sheet on the page? Interesting. So we have been testing with Excel online, and I believe that we have got an entire Excel sheet. We haven't even had a look to see whether we could just embed an entire Google Sheet. I'm imagining there might be a way to do it. Obviously, there wouldn't be a secure kind of handshake between the two. With our API, there's obviously a secure connection between the two. And I have seen some proof of concepts around our kind of designer rework. We are looking at putting a table in as a widget, which we could potentially look at doing for that kind of cell within Google Sheets as well. So we have been a little bit hamstrung by our designer. We built this thing probably 5 or 6 years ago at a time when technology was at a certain point. So we are kind of limited by what the capabilities of this is because we built it by ourselves. So we are looking at new ways to do it, which would obviously open up the doors a little bit to help with that. So I'll make a note of that one, and we'll say that that's something that people are interested in. Even if you want to email us separately, just at support@Fusion Signage, and we can, with any information on kind of what you're trying to do and how, it gives us a bit more information around what the solution would need to do. Suggestions for folder structure to keep track of slides. So under the manage section, you can basically do it however you want. Some people will create a folder just for all their playlists and their schedules, and they could put all their content in. You could put your content, playlists, and schedules like this. You could do it as a promotion. So if you have a specific promotion that you want to do, you could put that in here. You could put it in by screen and say, this is all my content for my screen 1, for example, and put your playlists and schedules all together, because each of these folders can have a combination of media, playlists, and schedules. So you can kind of keep it all together directly within here. But really, some customers will also just have a default playlist where everything goes, and that's where all the content ends up going. And then they can kind of sort it by date uploaded and just delete it if they don't need it. But really, it just comes down to how much content you have and how it makes sense for you. Do you have a similar demo for the Power BI integration? Yes, we have a recorded demo, Craig, for how to set up the Power BI, as well as a support site on it. I'll get the team to send through that. If you can give us your email address or email us at support@fusionsignage.com.au, we can send that information through to you. There it is, all over it. The good thing about the Power BI integration as well is that it's a live integration. So it means that your Power BI report is updating live on the screen, but it also takes a screenshot every 20 minutes. So if for some reason your device loses internet connectivity, it would simply revert back to that previous screenshot and keep running and keep playing until you get your internet back, and then it'll go live as well. So in the Power BI, I don't think it's on this one here, but we do have a set of report filters as well. So you can have a single report and you can set up for a specific screen that I want you to only filter it and show me Queensland based on this report and field and column. So you get pretty powerful and easy display of dashboards as needed. One of the next changes that we're going to be making in the individual section, you have this tab at the top for individual screens. This is where most customers will leave all of their screens. We also have the option for grouping. So screen grouping in here means you can put any number of screens into the group and update them all at the same time over here. But to be honest, not many customers kind of put 50 screens in here and then change between separate playlists all the time. So the change that we're going to be making is screens can exist in the individual section, and we'll be able to assign individually playlists to them as normal. But then you could add that same screen to one or more groups and append additional content to it. So for example, if I've got this demo screen here, it's playing this playlist, it could have 5 items in it. I could then also add it to a different group and then add 2 extra items, put it in another group, add 3 extra items, and it's going to consolidate all that content together and play it. So it means that I can freely move screens between groups, or I could just control all my content by having screens added and removed from specific groups whenever I need it. So really helpful for larger kind of rollouts or larger customers who have a lot of different locations or a lot of different content variations where you don't want to create playlists with sub playlists in it all the time. The other thing that's coming up is the ability to override or interrupt content that's on the screen. So within the playlist, we have the ability to schedule content, as you know. So over here, we've got this little icon for content level scheduling. This is going to get a little bit more of a robust. It's going to go probably away from content level scheduling, and we're going to call it like rule-based triggers or some equivalent. So it's not just time and date. It will be the ability to do things like APIs or weather or just a manual trigger, as well as time and date. So now the trigger could come from some third-party system, or if the temperature is over 30 degrees in a specific region, then you could trigger that content to play on the screen. That's all well and good, but the limitation at the moment of content level scheduling is it's an additive process. So when this content is scheduled and these files aren't, this one just gets added in. It doesn't get to override the content that's on that screen. So the extra ability that we'll be putting in is a priority system to override content. So then when this gets triggered, I will set a priority that says low, medium, or high. If there's anything else in that same priority, it's going to play at the same time, but it'll trigger and it'll override any other content that isn't set to priority. So why would you want to do this? Well, sometimes we have customers that have got 50 screens, 100 screens, they're all playing all this different content, but over the weekend, they might want to run one campaign across every store and have it go back to their content on Monday. So you can't really do that easily with schedules because you've got default playlists to set. Each one of them has to be created separately. So in this case, we could just create a new group, go in and say all screens, put a playlist on it with a time-based trigger to say on Friday afternoon at 5 p.m. to Monday at 8 a.m. Activate with a priority of medium and then override any content. As soon as Monday comes around and it's 8:01, priority system is turned off and it goes back and plays whatever else. So I can leave all my other screens with all the playlists on it and it takes only into account that interrupt and the time it's activated. Likewise, if you had an emergency management system that we could get an API connection to, you could set it up to trigger if an API goes off with the fire alarm, all screens get overridden to play evacuate the building, for example. As soon as that's turned off, it goes back and plays its original content. So very excited to see what customers kind of do with that integration, especially with some of the APIs that we have, to see how they can kind of make some changes to the screen in real time or in reaction to some customers' other systems. Cool. Well, it is 12 o'clock, so unless there are any other questions, feel free to duck off. But thank you so much for joining us for this Canva speed roller session. We are always open to feedback about anything and everything to do with the platform. We base a lot of our development on what you guys say and how you guys want to use the platform. So anything you can give us, any problems you're having, any annoyances, please let us know. We're more than happy to look into it and see exactly how we can make it a little bit better. Thank you so much for coming, team, and we'll talk to you soon.